Hey, 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 Facebook, what's up? What's up? What's up? Excuse me. So today I wanted to come on and, second time in a row today and talk to you about what I did today. So this morning, if you've been following me, I had a beautiful makeup on, right? To Elsa! Mwah, mwah, mwah. As you can see, hey Ellen, I had, amazing makeup on. And then just to know, because I wanted to go, I went for an interview at Mecca. So I love makeup, if you don't notice. And, I coach, I teach makeup on the side. And, and I was like, okay, I want to jump on here to share with you a few things that why I do what I do. And that so you guys understand that, this is never, it's always about happiness, right? It's always about following joy. And so I'm gonna give you how it started. So I don't know, I think a few weeks ago I had this massive urge. So I'm very intuitive. I'm very in tune with my intuition, I don't ask anybody else for guidance. So I'm very in tune, and it made me go to Sephora and then Mecca, whatever. So I went to both Sephora and Mecca, and then I asked him, for some reason, it's just asking me what, if I wanted to work there, in my head. And then because I found out that to play with more makeup, right, I wanted to be in a store where they offer, they have a lot of freebies and, because they have a lot of range that they can put their hands on, right? And they can play with. And also they get, I think 40% off or something, I'm not sure. So I'm going to test my luck. So the funny thing is, the person I was talking to was the manager. So she's like, well, why don't you just apply? So I never thought that I was going to, get an interview because I heard, it's very hard to get an interview. So I went today and I literally walked in and I was a little bit nervous because I've never really, I've never made into retail, right? I've never done retail before. And so I walked in there, just me being me. There were 40 to 50 people that were there. And the process was, they split us into, it was a long day. It was from 9 to about 2:30. So they split us out, and then they had, half of us going to one room to test us, our makeup artistry. And then the other side, then that's when they do the interview, right? So I was there. And the funny thing is, I don't know if I'm going to get a job or not, but either way, I'm happy because I just want a casual job on the weekend, just to fun kind of expand my experience. So the reason why I went for it is just because I just want the experience, right? Even if I don't make it and I was at the interview, I'm pretty good, right? Because it's almost, I'm so comfortable with where I am now. I minimize everything in my life that's just become all necessary, and everything I focus on now is joy. So if I don't have anything, I don't do anything that doesn't bring me joy. So I'm like, okay, well, if you love makeup so much, let's go and try this thing out. So which I did. I'm going to tell you the process of how they work, and if anyone that wants to work in Mecca, and I'm just going to give you a brief on it now. Okay, so you're welcome. So I was there, and it's so funny because, they gave us 1 hour to do the makeup on. So this is what the girl did to me today. I kind of rub off a little bit, and I had to fix my eyebrows because the way she did it is not what I wanted to see. And so they had a screen, and then they show us, we need to do the makeup for the other girl in the other team. And then the highlight of the story was I picked up a little hourglass, it was actually a brow mascara, a brow gel. And I didn't even read the thing, right? So I was hammering in, and I was trying to get the gel out for the mascara, and nothing was showing through. And I was like, but I never doubted. I thought it was dry or something, right? And then the trainer was so funny. She came around, she's like, what are you trying to do? And I'm like, a mascara? And she's like, it's actually eyebrow gel. I was like, oh my God, it was just so funny. So instead of me feeling like an idiot, I just laughed it off. I was like, oh really? I just thought a truffle size, I'm just being honest. I just thought it's a truffle size. And the one is like really small as well. So the whole time I was like, you know what, I've never worked in retail before, like I just want and I was just saying, I was just telling her exactly what it is. Like, I teach people how to do their own makeup instead, right? So it was just so funny. So then her and I became like really good friends, and we went to lunch together. And then like, so then they take a photo of us, and then that was it. So that was quite straightforward. So then they put us aside, and then they went into the interview room. So this interview, it's so crazy that the money that they pay you is not like, my old job, but the interview, like the whole process, I could see someone could walk in there and be intimidated, right? Because they went in, so that was for the artistry, because I think there's like a few roles that you can apply. And then there's the room next door, which is where I think the real thing is, because I think they're watching you, to see if you can like communicate and, and do all that stuff. And I have to tell you, if I did not do network marketing, right, my skill set will not be on point. So I went in there and, so then they had, let me see what they had. I'm just trying to remember. So they had 3 activities, the 2 activities. So the first activity, they sat us down and they had, like all these tasks, right? It's just like kind of all these tasks, and then all the, and then there was like a group of 3, and then they asked us to kind of put in the order, put for that particular scenario, where would you put it, and how, and I think just watching us as a team. And, as me, because I said to them, and then later on they have the massive piece of paper, and they say, put like which one first, second, and third or whatever, and there's like 10 tasks, right? So, the scenario was like, that day the CEO of NAS came to check out the store. The store is super busy, but then there's like a makeup artist was sick. The manager was sick as well, or off or something. And, there are some casual people there that, they need a briefing on. They had, what else did they have? So then like, so these are the things that they need to do. Which one would, like, what task do you do first? And then so I was just, because, they all put their numbers down, and I was just being me, because I'm not going to lie that I've never worked in retail before. I'm like, if I was just a customer, I don't really care what you guys do in the background, right? I just want someone to stand in front of the door, like, because that was what I picked as number 1. But to them, they don't feel like it's important. To them, they wanted to, print the report for the CEO. They need to like organize all the stuff in the back, which is fine, because I am there to learn. I was like, yeah, I'm learning from you guys, because I've never worked there before, right? Like, I'm just from purely a customer point of view. So, we just kind of like battered out like that. And it was amazing, because, hey Della, it was so amazing, because I could just, I watch myself, and I'm like, wow, I would never, come across like that, like in, like, so confident just being myself. Like, I would be like, oh my God, what would they think of me? And I think when you don't have an attachment to, what it is to the outcome, you kind of like, good to be yourself, right? So in the next one, which I had a scenario where role play. So I could see how, they needed a role play, because in certain situations, how would you react? And I have never worked in retail my whole entire life. In fact, when I was 19, I tried to get a retail job. I never got a job, right? Like, I'll do 2-week trial, and then no one called me back. And so I was there, and so they had three people. So then, the first one I was playing the store manager, and then the second one I was playing the host. They call it Mecca host, so the sales assistant. And then they're playing the customer. So the first one I did really well, because, the scenario was, how would the store manager like handle when the host is dealing with like a difficult customer, and what would, and the store manager was just there to like to help out, like just kind of like just to be near the sales assistant, but not necessarily budging in, because she seems that she got things under control. And if she needed anything, then I'm gonna be there. And and the customer wanted like an exchange or refund or whatever. So I was, being me. It's so relatable, because I have, to me, like for me, my people skill that I've developed for the last 2 years, it was so transferable. Because let's face it, everywhere we go, who do we deal with? Do we deal with things, or do we deal with people, right? So I am just so grateful, because I did, I I tried to build network marketing for like 2 years, but what it was when I entered into the network marketing field, I got all over the nerves of, hey Aaron, I got over the nerves of talking to people, so I can just make rapport with anybody on the spot like this, right? So I was like, cool. So I was just pretending myself. I'm like, how would a because like knowing what I know now, like, to empathize with people and so on. So I did it. So she was really pleased. But the second scenario they had, when the customer comes in and she was running late, and then there's another customer that's waiting for me to do makeup, whatever, how would I react? And so I kind of like, I had to do that again because she's like, oh, a little bit of feedback, can you do this, maybe more empathy on the person that's coming in late? And the second one, if she's early, then get someone else to help her to look out for a lipstick if that's what she wanted. So I'm like, cool, right? I'll take that on. So the next time, I just kind of like incorporate what she said into my role play, which is so cool, right? So I just watch myself, I'm like, wow, like this is so hard, but it's so refreshing. So I almost went in there for the experience, because I never had a retail like experience, like interview, right? Because I always went for my corporate job, and then so my is that the third one was when they had the one-on-one interview. See how crazy the process is just to work at a freaking store? Like, I'm like, oh my Lord, and the pay is not even that much, okay? But that wasn't, I didn't go for the pay, obviously. But there was something inside of me that said, this is your next phase, and I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. But, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm happy with that, because I'm very tuned with myself, like with my bigger purpose. So I know makeup has a lot to do with it. So I was like, cool, I'm just following where it leads me, right? It leads me joy, I'm doing it. So then when I was at the the leadership, the interview, she interviewed me. She asked me all these questions like, when was the last time you deal with someone giving you like a constructive feedback? What do you do and stuff? And it's so funny because I can't remember if I posted that. Did I post that? No, I posted on my Instagram. So my mentor, he reached out to me like recently. This is like a recent story about when I did the TEDx thing. And because I've been swearing a lot, he's just like, hey, just an observation. I'm just checking in to see if we, that if every word has a vibration, and I thought your path was to raise human consciousness. Now, I know that you wanted to, you might be emotional, and you might use that word quite a lot, but is that still, I'm just checking to see if that's still your path. And I went, and so my whole ego was starting to flare up, right? So this is the whole thing I was telling her, the person who was interviewing me. And, and then I said to him, yeah, of course. And then I kind of took that feedback on, and then, and obviously I stopped swearing so much on Facebook now because I understood the impact of what he was trying to say. So I'm never, I welcome feedback, but if you're not in the arena, I don't want to hear it, right? I'm not interested if you're not in the arena and getting your ass kicked, right? So I think that's like, I can't remember where I saw, it must be Brene Brown that said that. And I'm like, oh, that is so true, because everyone has a freaking opinion, My mentor, my coach has my interest at heart, and because we both have our interests at heart, we're able to serve the bigger self, which is the world. I'm like, cool, please bring it on. Every perspective is valid. So, and then at the end, it was so funny because she's like, have you ever been like in a leadership position before? I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, I used to lead a team of 8. And it was just so funny because, I went in and, and I know how to talk to people. So straight away, my intuition told me to wear these earrings today. It was like these Swarovski, I was taking the photo. And the person who was interviewing me, she had the same one, but she had the necklace. So straight away, I could see a common ground already. So I'm like, hey, I like what you're wearing, right? So it's amazing how when we're really building that intuition, and then just really go with the flow and know that you are always looked after. it's like the best feeling ever. You just let go all the control and you just flow, right? Because I'm not attached to whether I'm going to get the job, because I really didn't go for a job to get money. Does that make sense? I'm going there because of the experience. And what do we live for anyway? We live for the experience. Okay, when I was earning like, you know, maybe like 6 figures, I had no experience because I was too afraid to put myself out there, right? But today I was like, okay, for the very first time, I'm doing makeup on somebody and someone's watching me, you know, and I'm like, right? And so there's a little bit of nerves in there. I'm not gonna lie, because I mean, it was still, I had to perform, right? But what was amazing was that I didn't really care, because I'm like, this is what I do. Because I asked her, I said, hey, listen, do you have eyelashes? And she's like, no, you just have to work with what you've got. And I went, okay, but I know that eyelashes will make your eyes pop, right? So then, because the girl that I was doing it now, you know, we're good friends, she goes to me, wow, you were really smart. I'm like, why? Because I'm like, you actually asked for lashes, because I never hold back, right? I'm like, well, I normally do makeup with lashes. Everyone uses lashes. Why don't they have lashes? And she's like, no, because a lot of makeup artists can't put lashes on, right? But you asked, and then, you know, I was just being me. I was like, hey, look, this is the photo I actually did this morning, right? So I was just talking like this, and she's like, oh my God, and you showed her like, you know, what you could do and everything. I'm like, oh, no, I didn't do it because I wanted a job. I just wanted a conversation. And so, you know, the whole story here is that when you own yourself, the earlier you own yourself, the more you become. Right? So I didn't let any of these things hold me back. I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, I've never worked in retail before. They're not going to hire me, right? So I'm like, because what all they wanted was to see the energy that I could bring to the table. So I brought all of myself, and I could see how people were so stressed out, because, I mean, you know, it's pretty arduous, like from 6 to 3, like 2:30. You know, even a one-on-one as well, like you're literally gonna have an interview, and then before that they watch you how to do your makeup, and then also role play in a situation. Mind you, they already asked you that when you apply on the internet. They already asked you all these questions, like how would you do if you do this, like if this is a situation. So I was like, wow, this is so interesting, right? And then, you know, like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, I do MC, I do this, I do that. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah. So they're probably thinking like, why am I getting a job? But, you know, that's not there. Like, that's just for me to know, right? But I really wanted to experience more of what it is that I want. And I know that my passion, or what it is that I wanted to do, will lead me to a higher purpose, right? So I believe that if you follow your joy, your whole life will fall into place, because you're here to experience joy. And the programming that was in our head is to go, you need to suffer, you need to work hard to get there. But the more I research on the most successful people, they would tell you that passion is the juice of life, and that is how they get everything they want, from relationships, you know, having beautiful relationships and the life that they want, and also the you know, the like, it becomes their work. Does that make sense? So they didn't go to work. So they didn't go to work to get work, and then they separate their work from their life. It's a part of their life. So what I'm doing to, you know, on Facebook and sharing, that's a part of me. That's me. That's who I am. So if you want to know, if you want to really tapping into that, then you have to ask yourself, what would you do if you didn't get paid? Right? Because that's your true passion. Because that's going to carry you out when you don't get paid, right? Because initially when you start something, you don't get paid, and you have to be okay with it. So you have to ask yourself again, you know, am I really doing this for myself, or am I doing this for, because this is what everyone else do. If I do anything different, if I start again, I'm going to look like shit. Okay. And I have to admit, when I first quit my job, I had like, obviously, you know, I've done a really good job at, coherent my heart and my mind, so that I don't have that negative voice anymore. But that's why you have that negative voice, right? Because that's the voice that's being running your life for, you know, ever since like childhood, right? So that you just use the same programming, and that's how you live your life. So to be free, you need to break away from those stories. So you have to face those stories until you make it, right? But yeah, I just thought I'd come in here. I don't know if anyone wants to, you know, try out for Mecca, but that was their process. So I think we're here into them. I mean, in a couple weeks. I mean, I would love to have, because right now I everything I do, because people ask me, what do you do, right? And I'm like, I do anything that makes me happy. Some of them makes money, some of them don't. But if it doesn't make my soul sing, I fucking don't do it, right? Because you have to live your life like that. It has to start like that, because the moment when you give in and you go, I'm going to do for money, it's going to lead you this whole rabbit trail of like, oh, stuffing my joy aside, you know, like leave my joy on the side and I'm just going to follow money. And that's how you get into trouble in the first place, right? So now everything I do is like, I'm going to say, you know, where this is going to lead me because, you know, everything I do now is joy. So I was very happy when I was there, like playing with makeup and doing different things and, you know, goofing around. They were like, oh, you know, so have you ever made a mistake and how would you rectify it? I'm like, I make mistakes all the time, man. I'm like, I'm a mom. I make mistakes all the fucking time. And, you know, and I hate it when people, in the past, I used to get punished by my parents going, you know, adults always right? And I hated that sentence so much, because it's like judgment, and it's like, well, just because I am smaller in size than you doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I want for myself. So I told her that. I said, listen, this is actually my purpose, to transcend all these cultural beliefs and barriers. So I think she was just like getting a kick out. And after the conversation, she's like, you know what? You taught me something, right? I'm like, oh, thank you. Yeah. So I really like the Mecca people. I think they have an amazing culture. It's funny, they asked me, they're like, oh, if you were to have a business, what would be your most important thing? The reason why they ask you that is that, you know, you won't treat, like if you treat your job like your business, you're going to treat it very differently to someone else's business. And I said to her, I already own a business, right? So this is what I do. I think culture is the most important thing, because everywhere you go, you're dealing with people, right? Relationships have to come first. And, you know, and then you build relationships and everything on top of that, then you can pretty much get whatever you want, because they are most likely to buy and hear your suggestion. Not like you're going to use it for manipulation, but that's how you get, you know, relational with people, right? So you have to get good with that. So I think like the most important thing is the communication skills between two people, or, you know, between people really. But it doesn't get taught in school, right? I just think that it's just so important that if you guys have never ever done network marketing, I would just highly get into it and get over your fears, because that is how limited you're gonna live your life for. Like when I did network marketing, you know, I was petrified at talking to people, and I would petrify at, you know, telling them, oh, what it is that I do. But then it also means that I'm bringing up all my fears for me to face. Does that make sense? So I hope that brought value to you. I don't know why I'm sharing this. It's almost like the voice in my head goes, you got to share it. So I trust my intuition all the time. And I think my life is amazing because of it. So I would highly, you do what it needs to be done to tune into that voice, because that is when you kind of connected to the collective and you say all the right thing at every single time, all the time. Because it's almost like every single time I speak to somebody, I would say something that they're like, oh my God, I needed to hear that, right? And it just came out of my mouth, like I didn't even think about it. So if you do that, that is how you know that we are all connected. And once that you know that we are all connected, that is how you get ahead in life, right? Because people only work or you know, do things with the people they know, like, and trust. So until you're able to do that with yourself, then you can't go and relate to other people, right? So I'll give you another example. I was at lunchtime, and the girl, you know, they were talking something, and then I walked in out of nowhere. Like I didn't hear the whole conversation, so all I heard was, "Oh, you get to play with yourself." I'm like, "You get to play with yourself?" Like I went like that, and I think that girl went red, and she just like stayed away from me. She's like, "No, I didn't say that." And I'm like, "Oh, what's a bit of fun, right?" So that's what happens when we. That's what happens. Hey, Sophia. That's what happens when we are so afraid of being vulnerable with ourselves and just to, you know, be playful. We can't use that playfulness energy, because it's all energy, right? You can't go and rub it onto another person. So then you walk around, you're very tense, right? And no one likes tense people, right? They like playful, they want, you know, that bit of fun because life is already tough, you know? So anyway, I just thought that was really funny. And then my friend, she was like, you know, she ran away from you when you said that. I was like, oh, I don't know. That's what I heard. I came to the conversation. I don't know what you guys talk about. I just heard, oh, you play with yourself. All right, so you guys had an amazing day. I just wanted to share that with you guys today. That's why I had this beautiful makeup on. I literally walked in and it told me to take the whole damn thing off, right? And I said, man, if I knew this, I would have spent an hour trying to put my makeup on. And the trainer was like, well, you can't really rock up with no makeup. I'm like, yeah, that's true as well. So anyway, so I'm so glad I took photos. And so she kind of just did this. And I said, man, you guys, you can't do Asian eyes. You know, you really need to learn how to do Asian eyes because this is not how you do Asian eyes. Like, Asians will not go to me if I do fucking makeup like this, right? Because we can't, like, we are very particular about racing this thing of ours. What do you call them? Hooded eyes. And, you know, the whole, what is it called? The eyebrows. Anyway, it's really funny. So if you guys are tuning in now, you have to watch from the beginning because I am jumping off now. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you all. Have a great day.